This video is made possible with the help of our dashingly elegant patrons. You guys truly are awesome. Hello everyone and welcome back to another installment of Best in the Multiverse, brought to you by Affinityforcommander. My name is Alex, and today we're looking at the best commanders in red and what— nope, not doing it!
Alex, get back here, there was a vote!
You can't make me! Fine, let's get this over with. Here is our list of the top 5 Boros commanders. Enjoy. Number 5. Well, we're here now, so let's dive right in with the big question. What would Boros be without trying to smack our opponents out of the game in a single turn? Aurelia the War Leader is a 3/4 legendary angel with flying, vigilance, and haste for 2 generic mana, 2 red, and 2 white. She reads, whenever Aurelia War Leader attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Ah yes, Aurelia, the embodiment of, but I really like declaring attacks. Even on her own, that's 6 commander damage the turn she comes down. More if you have power increasing shenanigans up your sleeve. But let's make sure she isn't alone. And we'll even try to get some buffs from her companions whilst we're at it. Tajik, Blade of the Legion, has the potential to be a 7/7 indestructible during our first combat step, and then a 12/12 in our second. Now that is some serious power. Sun Titan getting an additional trigger is always nice to see, and Aurelia, Exemplar of Justice, is here to buff her past self with a cheeky +2/+0 and trample, followed by an additional +2/+0 on her second swing. Just beautiful. But, you know, I think we should be greedier than that. Yes, we've had one additional combat step, but what about a second additional combat step? Combat Celebrant Relentless Assault, Waves of Aggression, and World at War. We'll leave our opponents either dead, or asking when our turn will finally be over. Aurelia has the potential to be a lovely Voltron commander as well. With haste and multiple combat steps, she only needs 11 power to knock someone clean out of the game in one turn. Loxodon Warhammer can be used to grant her the all-important keyword Trample. Hammer of Nizan can remove equipment costs and give indestructibility, and Black Blade Reforged helps to reach that critical power level very quickly. What's that? +7/+7 for an equip cost of 3 mana? Don't mind if I do. And of course, if you're looking to be really flashing some cash, the swords of Pro Everything are always a good inclusion. Aurelia can definitely claim the number 5 spot for her quick burst damage and just some general rule-breaking shenanigans. But no higher considering one well-placed sword to plowshares quickly ruins your day. It's just not long before that casting cost gets too damn high. Number 4. At number 4 we've got a real man, a real man's man. A man who doesn't need a weapon. He's already got 2 permanently fixed to him with those massive guns. Brion Stout Arm, what a name, is a legendary 4/4 giant warrior with lifelink for 2 generic, 1 red and 1 white. He reads, 1 red mana, tap, sacrifice another creature. Brion Stout Arm deals damage equal to the sacrificed creature's power to target player. Firstly, I love the synergy of his ability with lifelink. Given that Brion is the one dealing damage every time he throws a creature at an opponent's face, you also gain that much life. A useful way of keeping your life total high when you're sacrificing creatures to hurt your opponents. But more importantly, Brion can be a pseudo-sacrifice outlet in Boros, with the added bonus of dealing direct damage to our opponents. So, to really get the most value out of his ability, we need creatures that have leaves the battlefield based effects. For instance, Yosei, the Morning Star, Hoarding Dragon, Archon of Justice, and even Homura, Human Ascendant, a card I personally find just hilarious in this deck. Sack it, deal 4 damage, gain 4 life, and return it to play to give a permanent buff and flying to all our creatures. Nice. However, sacrificing our own creatures is for chumps. You're not a chump, are you, viewer? No, you're not. You make the smart plays, and the smart plays here are sacrificing your opponent's creatures. Steal their biggest creatures with cards like Act of Aggression, Blind with Anger, Act of Treason, Treacherous Instinct, Treacherous Blood, and Kari Zev's Expertise. Given that most of these type of effects grant the stolen creatures haste, you can swing them at your opponents, and then sacrifice them to Bryon, dealing even more damage. An insult to injury, if you will. Turn all those mediocre steal effects into high damage dealing kill spells. Now that is the Stout Arm way. As well as instants and sorceries, we can also use creatures to quote-unquote borrow our opponent's tough guys, allowing us to keep some blockers for the inevitable retaliation against us. Zealous Conscripts, Conquering Manticore, and Molten Primordial all have active treason abilities, and can even be flung at our opponents themselves if needed. But on a much more Phyrexian note, who likes Infect? No one, Alex. Then no one's gonna like this! Equip Bryon with Grafted Exoskeleton, and watch the light drain from our opponents' faces as you one-shot them with Infect damage in red and white. Delightful. Oh, and don't forget 1000-Year Elixir, because why settle with only using Brown's ability once per turn cycle? An excellent and truly unique card, definitely worth the number 4 spot. Number 3. Regardless of your opinion on Buy-a-Box promos, I'm looking at you, Nexus of Fate, this card certainly earns its spot on the list. Firesong and Sunspeaker are a pair of 4/6 legendary Minotaur clerics for 4 generic mana, 1 red and 1 white. They read, red instant and sorcery spells you control have lifelink, and whenever a white instant or sorcery spell causes you to gain life, Firesong and Sunspeaker deal 3 damage to target creature or player. Aetherflux Reservoir. Sorry, I had to get that in early before anyone else nose-dived into the comments section. Given the amount of life gain that this deck can achieve, you can quite easily be in triple digits by the later stages of the game. So why not exchange some of that life for 16.6 recurring lightning bolts to an opponent's face? You'd be hard-pressed to find a better commander to do it with. In Boros at least, Oloro still very much exists. But failing a complete colour swap, Firesong and Sunspeaker are definitely your boys for life gain and mass creature burn. Running cards like Hour of Devastation, Comet Storm, and Earthquake help to keep those boards clear of threats, while simultaneously gaining you a metric ton of life. Also, if you just want to never worry about your life total ever again, Star of Extinction wipes the board and will gain you approximately 1 billion life. Follow this up with a Felidar Sovereign or Test of Endurance, and your opponents had better hope they have saved some removal. The latter half of our commander's ability can occasionally be a nice addition. Bolting something on top of a card's effect is always good. Aurelia's Fury gets some additional damage stapled to it, as does Bright Flame, Lightning Helix, and a personal favourite of mine, Deflecting Palm. And with cards like Well of Dreams and Dawn of Hope to help us refill our hand, this Minotaur can definitely tear apart any player group that does not take him seriously. Number 2. So you're in Boros. I'm so sorry. But if you're in red and white, it's for the damage. The sweet, sweet damage. And you know what's better than dealing damage? Dealing double damage. Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight, is a 5/5 legendary angel with flying and first strike, for 4 generic mana, 1 red and 2 white. She reads, if a source would deal damage to an opponent or permanent an opponent controls, that source deals double that damage to the player or permanent instead. And if a source would deal damage to you or opponent you control, prevent half of that damage, rounded up. What's great about Gisela is that her ability isn't just relevant when you're dealing the damage. Anytime your opponents hit each other, that damage is doubled. And in addition to this, you get a free, no strings attached, padded cushion to lessen the damage that you receive. I cannot tell you how amusing it is to see someone swing into Gisela with a 10-10, only to realise that it only deals 5 damage, and she deals it 10 and has first strike. Oh dear. Maybe next time they'll swing their beefier dudes onto other players instead. But we don't want to risk our opponents ganging up on us to counteract the damage mitigations that our commander offers. We ourselves need to get in on that action. To do this, Gisela runs creatures such as Anya, Merciless Angel, Lyra Dawnbringer, Resplendent Angel, and Angelic Skirmisher. Beyond the synergies that can be had running Tribal Angels, having lots of flyers helps to increase the odds that our creatures will be unblocked, which is important when we're trying to end the game as quickly as possible. Boros, after all, is not known for its strength in the late game. But honestly, double damage? Those are rookie numbers. We gotta pump those numbers up. Gratuitous Violence, Furnace of Wrath, and Angras Marauders are insanely powerful cards in this deck, quadrupling the damage that your opponents take whilst restoring the damage you receive to the usual amount. And Dictate of the Twin Gods is a brutal card to flash in once someone has assigned no blocks. Gisela has the potential to take players out of the game all by herself with one or two of these cards in play. Adding cards that grant double strikes such as Berserker's Onslaught, True Conviction, or Rage Reflection to give all your creatures double strike? And I'll tell you right now, that game is ending very quickly. Overall, Gisela is not the most complicated commander to understand, but she is very well designed. She's good, honest, brutal fun. Just as red-white ought to be. Number 1. And taking the award for most obvious top spot is Feather, the Redeemed. I'm not even going to try and sideswipe the joke there. She's just the best. No disputing it. Feather the Redeemed is a 3/4 legendary angel flying for 1 red and 2 white. She reads, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Feather looks to have been designed to help alleviate one of the biggest problems Boros commanders have in EDH, a lack of card draw. By including cards with draw a card written on them in your deck, you can use Feather's ability to return usually subpar draw spells to your hand, allowing you to cast them over and over again. Shelter, Psychotic Fury, Defiant Strike, Expedite, and Crimson Wisps are all excellent examples of this, and can be cast during your opponent's turn as well as your own. You'll soon find that you need to discard down to 7 cards more often than not, which is more than alright in a colour combination that usually ends up hell-bent. Cards like Cloud Shift, God's Willing, Sheltering Light, Ephemeral Shield, and Starve Off are some of the numerous protection spells that we run, because Feather is going to get targeted by removal more times than you can count. Being able to say, no, you will not kill my commander is always useful, but being able to reuse the same protection turn after turn, delightful. But simply protecting Feather doesn't win us the game. Buffs from Titan's Strength, Brute Force, and Built to Smash make Feather a force to be reckoned with. And spells such as Temur Battle Rage, Boros Charm, and Double Cleave double the damage she can deal. And after you've finished dealing your opponents silly amounts of damage, all the spells you cast return back to your hand at the beginning of the next end step, ready to do it all again next turn. Combine your now insane hand of protection and pump spells with token producers like Young Pyromancer and Monastery Mentor, we can now go super wide as an alternative win condition, or simply use your army to block your opponent's creatures, and then turn around and slap in some more targeting value with Mirrorwing Dragon and Zada Hedron Grinder to take advantage of that token army you just produced. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the once proud 50-cent card known as Sunforger, now sitting at nearly $5. It just goes to show you the power of a good... Come on Alex, you can do this, you're a professional. The power of a good Boros commander. The card advantage, the speed, the low CMC, the threat of an instant kill at a moment's notice, and the versatility of being able to swap between a Voltron and go wide strategy at the drop of a hat. These are all the reasons why Feather the Redeemed is my top pick for the best Boros commander. And that is it for our video on the best commanders in red and white. But what did you think? Are there any commanders out there that you feel should have been included? Do you think that Feather is overrated? If so, you're allowed to be wrong on this, and I'm sorry for that. Let us know in the comments below. If you wish to purchase any of the cards you see in this episode, then please use the affiliate link in the video's description. It won't cost you anything extra and really helps out the channel a lot. You can also find us on Twitter @ForCommander, and if you really like us, you could consider becoming a patron of the channel yourself. Links to all are in the description, and as always, we'll see you next time.